Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Feliz Navidad, everyone, and welcome back to our special Christmas edition of Holly Jolly Kitchen. I'm your host, Tristan, and I am so excited for today's episode because Christmas time is around the corner. I just can't stop singing. I'm so excited. Can you tell? There are so many amazing Christmas songs that I just love. I just sing them over and over and over again. How about you? Now, how about we go and see my two favorite Christmas cooks, Graham and Reese, and see what's happening in their Christmas kitchen today.
Hey, Graham, has our latest test recipe come into the kitchen yet?
You mean this old thing? Yeah, but it's the worst. I've already made it.
Oh, hold up. You want to turn that saute down to a simmer and tell me what you're talking about? What do you mean you already made it? We're a team. You know, Reese and Graham, Graham and Reese. You can't just work on the recipes without me.
I'm sorry, Reese. I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. It's not a big deal. I was honestly just trying to save your chef expertise for something that's a little more fun than today's test. Here, take a look. This thing is Snooze City, USA.
Hold the holidays. What kind of a challenge is this? Couldn't we have tried something a little more difficult than a no-bake cheesecake?
See, now you're feeling me. Somebody sound the alarm to wake me up because this cake is boring.
My bad, Graham. I should know by now if you say it's not a big deal, then it's cooler than Frosty on a Christmas morning. You know, I've eaten a lot of cheesecake over the years. There was that one with the milk chocolate and the white chocolate and then the dark chocolate, and it was covered with Oreos and milk chocolate sauce. That cheesecake was amazing.
Oh, and do you remember that time when I baked that one that was like, if a birthday cake tornado ran right into a cheesecake volcano and exploded into the best thing I've ever tasted?
Oh man, that cheesecake was the best. But looking at the plan for this cheesecake, not so much.
Yeah, well, I guess it's about time I get this boring, blah-de-da-de-da, no-bake cheesecake out of the oven.
Stop right there, sous chef. The oven? You put this no-bake cheesecake in the oven to bake?
What in the whisk happened to this thing?
Well, let's take a look at our plan real quick. You put this cake in the oven, but this cake is a no-bake. So when you bake a no-bake cake, you get whatever this is.
Oh, I was wondering why this thing called for ice cubes. I was thinking this would be so boring that I really didn't have to pay attention to all the details.
Yeah, Graham, this cheesecake was supposed to be sitting in the freezer for the last 30 minutes.
Oh no!
Okay. Don't freak out. We need a plan. Let's just take it from the top.
Do you mean start over? Well, that would work out for us if this cake wasn't supposed to be finished by 3 p.m.
I think we're in a bit of boiling water here because it's 2:15 and this recipe takes a total of 3.5 hours to make from start to finish, and there is no way we're going to have this bad boy ready in the next 45 minutes.
Well, what can we do now? If we had a time machine, I could go back a couple of hours and force myself to follow the plan. Okay, Reese, that's the only answer. I need you to help me find a time machine. Do you think we can get one of those?
Yeah, right, Graham. I wish, but we both know there's only one thing we can do.
Okay, well, I guess since I'm the one that got us into this craziness, the least that I can do is call someone to help get us out.
Oh, ginger snap.
Yikes, that dessert looked pretty rough. Now you guys remember what I've been saying week after week after week. The recipe book is a chef's best friend. And when we follow this recipe book exactly to what it says, we can end up with some yummy treats, right? But our friend Graham thought he knew what he was doing, so he didn't stick to what the recipe book said. And that no-bake cheesecake ended up into a no-eat cheesecake. Because Graham didn't trust and stick to the plan, he couldn't enjoy the goodness of what could have been a really yummy cheesecake. Now, this story reminds me of another story in the Bible about a man named Joseph. and Joseph had to choose whether to believe that God had a plan for his life or not to believe that. How about we take a closer look into the story and see what happens?
God has a plan for our lives, and we can trust Him even when we don't understand all that He is doing. There's a story in the Bible where we see this is true. There was a man named Joseph, and he was a carpenter living in the town of Galilee. Joseph was engaged to a young woman named Mary and learned that she was going to have a baby. This didn't make him very happy, which makes sense because they weren't even married yet. You see, Mary knew this was going to happen because an angel told her it would. It was all part of God's plan. One night, while Joseph was asleep, an angel from the Lord came to him in a dream. The angel said, "Joseph, son of David, don't be afraid to accept Mary to be your wife. The baby inside her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son. You will name him Jesus. Give him that name because he will save his people from their sins." This all happened exactly how God said it would, many, many years earlier. God told His people that one day a special woman would be pregnant and give birth to a son. This baby would be called Emmanuel, which means God is with us. This is another name for Jesus. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel told him to do and got married to Mary. God had a plan for Joseph and Mary, and they trusted His plan. Even though you may not be sure about what God is doing through some of the crazy things happening in your life, you can trust Him. God did have a plan for Joseph and Mary, and God has a plan for your life too.
Now, as we saw in that story, Joseph was having a really difficult time believing that God had a plan for him and his wife Mary. But once the angel had visited Joseph, he was sure that God had a plan for them. Now, I want to ask you a question. Does God have a plan for you too? Well, of course. God has a plan for every single one of us. And whether we can see all the details or not, or whether we know how it ends or how it begins, we can trust that God has a plan for us. And if Graham had just opened up his recipe book, he would have seen the plan right there of how to make that cheesecake. And it's the same for us. When we are unsure, we can open up our recipe book, the Bible, and see the plan that God has for each one of us. Now, let's say this together. God has a plan. Yes, that's perfect, guys. Good job. And I hope this week you hold on to that and you remember that God has a plan for your life. Thank you so much for joining us today in the Holly Jolly Kitchen. I sure did have the funnest time ever, and I can't wait to see you all again next week. Bye.